Greetings, my scattered brothers and sisters in the Lord. Trust you know the Lord is with you wherever you find yourself scattered today, and that you know that His presence with you is more than enough, whatever you might face today. We are continuing on in Mark chapter 5. It's the story of Jesus casting out that legion of demons from the man on the other side of the lake. And you know that the man was living amongst the tombs. The people wanted nothing to do with him. They treated him like an animal. They tried to bind him hand and foot. He broke through the chains and the shackles, and he lives among the dead. And he cries out night and day. No one can subdue him. And so that's just kind of the normal. And when Jesus lands on the other side of the lake, Jesus sees the man sees Jesus, and the man goes to meet Jesus and falls on his feet before Jesus. And Jesus is casting the demon out of him. And Jesus asks the man, what's your name? Or asks the unclean spirit, what's your name? And he says, Legion, because there's a legion of us. And the demons, the unclean spirit, they beg Jesus not to torture them and not to make them leave the area. And so Jesus casts them into a herd of swine, and the herd of swine, the pigs, they run over a cliff and they drown themselves in the lake. And the man is well, he's clothed and in his right mind. And that's where we're picking the story up today. And picking the story up in terms of some of the reactions to what happened. And so I'm in Mark chapter 5, and we're going to pick it up at verse 14. Those tending the pigs ran off and reported this in the town and countryside, and the people went out to see what had happened. When they came to Jesus, they saw the man who had been possessed by the legion of demons sitting there dressed and in his right mind, and they were afraid. Now, I just got to pause there. The people are afraid now. Shouldn't they have been afraid before when they couldn't subdue the man, when he's cutting himself, when he's crying out, when he's living amongst the tomb? Now they see him dressed and clothed in his right, and he's in his right mind, and now they're afraid. And that's just kind of backwards to me. But anyways, we go on a little bit further. So when they came to Jesus, they saw the man who had been possessed by the legion of demons sitting there dressed and in his right mind, and they were afraid. Those who had seen it told the people what had happened to the demon-possessed man, and told about the pigs as well. Then the people began to plead with Jesus to leave their region. Now again, that's just kind of crazy to me. You would think that they'd want Jesus to stay with his saving power, how he changed this man who had been so possessed, so unfit for society, that he's living in a graveyard. And Jesus saves him, Jesus heals him, Jesus frees him from the unclean spirit, and now he's in his right mind. And what do the people want? The people want Jesus to leave, and now they're afraid. And so I just think about that, what would our reaction be? And it sounds like there must be some level of, fear that Jesus is going to disrupt our normal. I don't know how much those pigs were worth. That to me sounds like a lot of bacon that just went to waste. And maybe that's what the people are more focused on, is what Jesus has done to their economy, the loss of bacon. And, you might say that a person is worth more than all those pigs, but clearly in the people's mind, when it comes right down to it, they'd rather have their bacon and have this man living out in the tombs than to have this man and lose their bacon. And maybe that's why they're so upset. Maybe that's why they're afraid. What else is Jesus going to do to disrupt our lives, to disrupt our world, to disrupt our economy, to disrupt our bacon? And so they want to get rid of Jesus. And I can't help but think really how often that's the case even today, where there's the recognition that Jesus has power to save and to change things, but maybe we're resistant to the change. Maybe we're afraid of what the change will cost us. Maybe we're worried that having Jesus around and having him kind of have his way is going to cost us a lot of bacon too. And we'd rather keep our bacon, so Jesus, please leave. Well, there's one more reaction I want us to look at, and that's the reaction of the man who is now clothed and in his right mind. As Jesus was getting into the boat, the man who had been demon-possessed begged to go with him. The people wanted Jesus to leave. He's going to oblige them. He's going to leave. But the one who had been demon possessed, he wants to go with Jesus. Jesus did not let him, but said, "Go home to your own people and tell them how much the Lord has done for you and how he has had mercy on you." So the man went away and began to tell in the Decapolis how much Jesus had done for him, and all the people were amazed. And so I can see the man wanting to leave that place and just be with Jesus wherever Jesus was going. But that's not what Jesus had in store for him. Jesus said, "No, go back to your own people and tell them what the Lord has done for you." And so he did. He was obedient. He listened. And people, as they heard his testimony, they were amazed. I don't know if these were the same people that were filled with fear and wanted Jesus to leave, or if this is a whole nother set of people back in his own hometown. But there's amazement. The man listened to Jesus. The word about Jesus continued to spread. But Jesus left, and he's going back to, quote unquote, his side of the lake. Well, I don't know kind of where you find yourself in that. Maybe you find yourself connecting with Jesus, that you sense Jesus working with you, working in you, working through you, to reach out to people, to bring healing to people's lives that everyone else is kind of written off. They're not fit for community. They're not fit for society. They should be living amongst the dead. But through the work of Jesus in your own life, you see those people different. And so you're reaching out to them, and the outcome is you're disrupting people's peace. You're disrupting people's normal. Maybe you identify yourself with kind of the crowd that you honestly, you just want Jesus to leave, that Jesus is too disruptive, Jesus costs too much bacon, and so Jesus just leave. Kind of tragically, Jesus will do that. He'll leave until you're ready to call out for him. But maybe you see yourself more in terms of the man who, is now clothed and in his right mind. And Jesus is sending you, back to your people, whoever they might be. But Jesus is sending you to testify what the Lord has done for you. And people are going to hear, and they'll respond in different ways. Some disbelief, but there'll be amazement at what God has done. So wherever you find yourself scattered today, think on the story a little bit more. Who do you identify with? What's the Lord's message to you? God bless. Have a great day. And, nothing is better than knowing Jesus, no matter how much bacon it might cost. God bless.